Hello, I am Wonder001, and this is my 3-year follow-up review and look at of Wealthfront, a automated robo advising service. There are a few things that I'm going to touch on that have been added or changed or I feel need to be discussed, but really this is just a follow-up so you can see how my accounts have been doing. So with any luck, this will be shorter than the other videos that I've done in the past. If this is the first video of mine that you're seeing for Wealthfront, I recommend going in the upper right hand corner. There should be an eye popping up, and that will take you to a playlist of the evolution and my progress using Wealthfront. So first and foremost, the big change that came to Wealthfront at the end of 2018, currently filming this end of January 2019, is this, the Path tool. The Path tool, well, I'm not going to harp on it, change the icon again for retirement. No longer a palm tree, looks like a little star. But the Path tool and all its goodness is now free for everybody to use. You no longer need a Wealthfront account in order to use this particular service. For other things you will, but the Path tool is now free for all. Second new thing and or update, under What If I, when they changed that naming convention, but you had buy house, save for college, receive a windfall. Now you can take time off to travel. I do believe that they changed the name of this because I played with the tool when it first came out, and I was like, well, this just kind of seems weird with what they had it called. So the name has changed, but the idea is still the same. And what is that idea? Well, if we click this Path event, it will say travel. So dreaming big, it will say, hey, we're going to analyze some stuff to find out. The gist of it is, based on what you have, how long can you take a sabbatical from actually needing to work? Now over here, it will show you, here are your connected accounts. Now it doesn't show you all of the accounts, but this is the total net worth because there's Vanguard and to Merrill Lynch. It's not showing the Wealthfront ones anymore, which they changed the way that UI looked, but no big deal. You can add more for better advice. And then here you can edit your current household income. This is between my wife and I. So we're going to say, see how long I can travel for. So based on the current information that is inside the Wealthfront system, it's like, hey, you can travel for 6 months and you would be comfortable. So for those 6 months, we would spend $25,000, roughly $4,258 per those 6 months. Now here you do notice that there is a sliding scale, so here it's showing you how long you could do that. Now if I were to try and say I'm going to do this for a year, now it's going to change how much, so it's now 51,000, still spending the same amount, and I'm going to show you where that amount is coming from, because it goes, how will I fund this? And it says, here's cash, and it doesn't look like you have enough cash. Now there's this show details, which I will get into because that's partially where the calculations are coming from. Now, you will notice that it says net worth at 65 decreased by $200,000 because I shifted this from a year. Now, if I go back to 6 months, you'll notice this number changes to $100,000. So it's saying, based on you taking off, you're not, adding any source of income. So this will affect you in some way, shape, or form, which is understandable. Now, if we select down here, it's like, how will this impact my plan? Well, here for retirement, you'll save $14,000 less, and it will decrease my net worth almost $100,000. You'll be back on track to retire, planning assuming you return to earning this amount and saving what I'm currently saving, and you will have 1.8 thousand left by the time I'm 90. I can go back and edit my retirement planning right from here, or I can come down here and say other goals, so I can explore other goals. Now these are all now considered goals instead of path events. I'm going to collapse that, and if we scroll down here, it's going to say, hey, you can set when you want to start your sabbatical. Now it says I would be starting this in July of 2019 with no income while traveling. Well, that is true for most. If you're not working, you're not making money. And here, spending, it shows 4,258. Now you can operate this on a sliding scale, or you can edit it here and make your changes. You can also come down here and learn about traveling costs, which opens up this details area, which I will show you momentarily. Here it also says, some advice. So you're saving enough for your trip, dream of blah, 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 with some links. And then digital nomad for this much. And it's like, hey, you can kind of budget. So it'll help you with budgeting. Now, the portion that I keep hiding or referencing but not showing you is up here, this detail. So travel costs. How is it assuming your travel costs? And it gives you a description of all of this. So it's like, hey, you want to be a cheapskate? Do you want to be thrifty, or do you want to live large? And that's how it's estimating your monthly. So right now it's actually estimating that I'm kind of into the living large. So I really wouldn't say I spend this much in a month. So if I were to change this to 2,600, you'll notice that this is comfortable, and I can even say, hey, I want another month, and I'm still comfortable without greatly impacting my retirement. Now we're going to close that one and say housing costs. So this is, hey, do you have rent? Do you, during travel, is this going to stay the same? You can say, yes, it's going to stay the same, or you can say, no, I'm not going to be renting while I'm traveling. So, some people just travel in an RV and they no longer have any rent. This will show you your account returns, just like it does for many of the other areas inside of Wealthfront. So I won't be showing you that because that's kind of a lot of sensitive data. Likewise with the finances and household. And down here, managing goals will allow you to mark this goal as complete, meaning you finish your estimations here, or you can delete this goal entirely. Now, coming back to the income while traveling, you can actually say that you are going to earn some income, either you or your partner, since my wife and I are both listed on this particular account. So I can say custom and say, well, since I'm a super famous YouTuber, maybe I can make $200 a month. And I'm going to hit enter, and that will save that. Come down here and hit save. And now it's added into the calculation. Now, granted, $200 a month isn't going to do a lot, but hey, it's $200 of gas money for my little sabbatical here. So I can select done, and then either come and mark the goal as complete, or done, go to my overview. So we're just going to go done, go to my overview. And now you see, here's my little sabbatical right here. And thankfully, I am still on track to have 6 months of being off and retiring comfortably. Now, this is one of the big changes too. I added a lot of extra information into my retirement because, well, I wanted to make it more complete. And by that, I added some pension funds, and I've slowly been increasing the amount of money that my wife and I put in. I'm pushing this number up too for the total amount spending during retirement to kind of keep me motivated, because as you can see here, I'm kind of on the cusp of you will have just enough and what you need. Now, that's not to say that I will be super set. I would like to save more, because, well, I kind of use it as a motivating factor. So I'll probably change it again so that I will be saving even more. Now, you'll notice that this number did go down a bit because, well, I took 6 months off of not making money, or at least as much. If I go in here and delete it, we're going to say delete. Path tool changes again, and you'll notice that I now have $100,000 extra in my calculation. Now, account breakdown I want to touch on. I'm not going to show you because I don't feel like having to blur them out, but the breakdown for each account will show you how much money is going into those accounts. I recently upped my IRA because, well, now the minimum for an IRA, if we come in here, I'll just pop in there, the minimum contribution is $6,000 as opposed to previous years where it was $5,500. For the longest time, my Wealthfront IRA was not displaying the correct amount being deposited, and I'm not sure why, but after I told it, well, I'm going to be increasing my contribution, it changed it and has been holding on to that new number quite well. Coming back to the main page here, what I also want to talk about is linked accounts. This is something new that Wealthfront has done, and they have added support for Coinbase. So if you are into cryptocurrency, you can come up in here and you can say, there you go, Coinbase. So if you like crypto, you can now have that as part of your path total. Okay, so now let's get into some of the actual returns because, hey, that's kind of what you want to know. I've been using this for 3 years, so how well are your accounts doing? Now, I will start off by saying 2018 was rough. Like you can see over here, there is a dip, and that dip is definitely in 2018, where I actually had, for the first time in my IRA, my account balance be worth less than my initial deposits. Now, I'm not saying that that's bad. It was a rough year all around. But I had noticed a severe drop off in people who were using Wealthfront because I can keep track of my referrals. Even my friends who were using my referral code were saying, hey, it's not performing like I thought it would. And part of that is, again, it's based on when you come into the market. Like I've been using this for 3 years. And I was doing pretty good until 2018 went all screwy. Yes, we had super market returns towards the beginning of the year. But for me, like when I would put in or when I had my auto transfer going on, it felt like the next day the market would go down. So kind of wish there was like a pause button where it's like, I still want to do my deposit, but maybe just hold off for like a day because I can see things are coming. I realize that takes away some of the automation that Wealthfront offers, but I figured it could give you like some more control. And again, it's all about the long game with Wealthfront. So just keep that in mind. Yes, you're going to see ups and downs. This is probably the first time that Wealthfront has actually seen a down market. So I did see a lot of people abandoning ship. And I'm just trying to say, stick it out. It's well worth it for the long haul. Now, coming to my returns, here we can see our money-weighted return. Now, in comparison to previous 6 months, this has gone down. It's still in the green, but it has gone down. Previously, we were at 23.4%. We are currently at 17.83%. If we check our time-weighted return, this one's actually pretty good because it was 31.6 the previous 6 months, and currently it is only 31.08. So in the long haul, this is doing pretty good. And again, time weighted is what you want because that'll give you a better overview of your portfolio. And coming down here, again, still wish they had dividends somewhere. Still wish they would do fractional shares. Still wish that they would pull my other outside institutions a little more often because, it's like 3 days sometimes before they actually bring that information into Wealthfront. And I just wish that was a little more regular. So coming back up, we're going to go back to my overview and we are going to go into my investment account. Now, this is the one that really hurt because this one hasn't been as active for as long as my IRA. And you can see I've slipped well below my deposit for a while there at the end of 2019. Now, the other thing to consider with your taxable account is tax loss harvesting. If you notice back in 2017, because that's the first full year that I was using Wealthfront's taxable investment account, it tax loss harvested only $21.91. If you come to 2018, you will notice that just for 2018, it tax loss harvested $174.92. That is what this is good for in a turbulent market. It will save you some long-term and short-term capital gains by tax loss harvesting your losses. So even in 2019, it tax loss harvested. You can see also in 2019, it has come up now above my deposit threshold, thankfully. But looking at our all-time, you could see $209 worth of tax loss harvesting. But let's talk about returns. Again, this one has taken a hit. So money weighted previously was 13.04. It is currently 3.8. So that has taken a bit of a hit. Like I said, this one has been open for less time than my IRA. And time weighted was 16.96. It is currently 13.74. So again, it has taken a bit of a hit, but time weighted shows not as bad as I would have thought. Now, the one issue I do have with tax loss harvesting, and it's a personal issue I want to say, is because it's selling at a loss and buying similar stakes, I have found that if it does that close to when you're supposed to receive a dividend quarterly, you can be getting dividends from those less profitable assets. And I do realize that dividends are not the make and break of your accounts, but it kind of did upset me a little bit where I'm like, oh, I could have been getting Vanguard this, or this, and instead, it put me into a Schwab. So here you can see, because of tax loss harvesting, I'm currently in Schwab, which is the lowest of their recommended ETFs instead of the Vanguard. So I was getting Schwab dividends instead of Vanguard dividends, which tended to be a little higher. And again, that's just me putting out information there. It's not terrible. Tax loss harvesting in the long run will save you, and that's what it's meant to do. It's just personal pet peeve. Now, speaking of, if we come over to your investment strategy area, again, there is no dividends, sadly, on this page. I remember talking about this area. So if we come up to change, this looks much different than it did previously, because there was like all these information, there was just a little drop down arrow, no real recommendation to, hey, go up here and change it. Now they've changed it totally. So you can see a clear progression as you go up. You either are not doing any tax loss harvesting, you are doing tax loss harvesting, you're doing half tax loss harvesting at the stock level and smart beta, but you need to reach these particular thresholds, and then recommended. They did have recommended on the other one. All of that, smart beta plus the risk parity, and then you can continue. So I am happy that Wealthfront did make that a little easier to understand for people who may be trying to figure out if that's something that they need. Now, I will also say that Wealthfront, while it is a newer and growing company, has had a few little missteps this year. First was with risk parity, but then it was, news was reported that the SEC had slapped Wealthfront with a $250,000 fine based on some of the practices that they were doing. So from October 2012 to mid 2016, so about May, while they stated that they were daily tax loss harvesting and checking for wash sales for all accounts, they really weren't doing that. I guess they were only doing it for some accounts. I'm assuming once you got to a certain threshold. So they weren't doing it for all accounts, which kind of got them in trouble with the SEC, because you're saying you're doing that and you kind of need to be doing that. The other thing was compliance with social media usage, and that was kind of, hey, they were not saying that things that they were promoting on their Twitter account were pretty much like people who were, hey, we'll give you some money to put this out there, and then they were using it as like a testimonial. So it's kind of like truth and disclosure type of stuff. So realistically, for me, I didn't start using Wealthfront's investment account until after 2016. So my account was always daily tax loss harvesting and checked for wash sales. And that's part of what you're going to get with FinTech. It's growing, it's learning, it's evolving. There are going to be some missteps. Do I think this makes it so that I wouldn't use Wealthfront? No. They're small missteps. They're learning. They improved. They paid the fine. There was another robo-advisor who was listed as having not similar issues, but were also fined by the SEC for something else entirely. So in the long run, I still like it as a fully automated investment service. I will be continuing to use it as my primary retirement and investment vehicle. So with that said, Wealthfront no longer offers $10,000 for a sign-up bonus. If you happen to use somebody's referral link, like the one that I will have in the description area below, you will get $5,000 of assets managed for free. So if you have found this helpful and would like $5,000 managed for free, please feel free to use the referral link. If you don't want to use mine, that's perfectly fine, but I do strongly encourage you to go out and find somebody else's to use, because $5,000 managed for free is much better than nothing managed for free. So I have been Wanderer 001. This has been my 3-year follow-up review of Wealthfront as an actual user with a fairly small account, depending on how you look at it. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the area below. And as always, thanks for watching.